If you had to name three things about bees off the top of your head, it might go something like this. 1, they make honey. 2, they have a queen. And 3, they can sting you. I mean, that's it, right? Maybe some creative people might say they have a yellow and black color scheme. Or that Nick Cage really doesn't like them. But apart from those big 3 facts listed at the top, not many people know much about bees. Which is sad, because usually when we don't know much about a subject, we tend to default to pop culture, films, and TV to fill in our knowledge gaps. But, as you can imagine, the people who write for TV, movies, and define pop culture, they know about as much as the rest of us. Which leads us to today's Celerytest movie, The Beemovie. Released in 2007, this movie on the surface may seem like your typical family-friendly kids movie. But, as all of our Celerytest movies, we will be asking the same question. Does this movie take more than it gives? Hello and welcome to the Celerytest. I am your host Harley Collins, and with me as always is my co-host James Roberts, or as I call him, Jim Bob. Jim Bob, how are you doing today?
Hey, how you doing? Doing well, doing well.
Now, maybe asking, what is the Celerytest? Now, the Celerytest is a media metric designed by 2 handsome Australian gentlemen, that's us, and asked that, just like the act of eating celery burns more calories than it gives, can we apply that pop science to other forms of media? So, today's Celerytest we'll be looking at is The Beemovie. So, Jim Bob, what is your relationship to The Beemovie?
Oh, I can't wait to tear into this one. Unlike most of the other movies that were reviewed or going to review, I actually never saw this when it first came out. So I didn't come into seeing this as a child. So
You've not seen
I came
Jerry
in
Seinfeld's classic The Beemovie?
Yeah, no. Classic, is that really the word we're going to use?
True. I can't. Released in 2007, so yes, this movie is, 13 years old at time of recording?
I would have been 20 at that point.
It hasn't aged well, I must say. It really hasn't.
Look, I would say the graphics, the CGI actually is kind of okay. If you watch a bunch of other movies and stuff of that genre afterwards, the CGI kind of stands up in my mind anyway.
Right. So, yes, the first time we saw the Beemovie is when I said, "Hey, Jim Bob, go watch the Beemovie, and we'll tell everyone in the Celery."
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. So I went in with no expectations, no reverences or anything like that. I had no sort of backstory, so I openly watched it with an open mind.
Yes. So I have children. Unlike you, I have children. And yes, we kind of every Friday or Saturday we do family movie night, and then it kind of goes in a rotation. So it's like me, wife, kid number 1, kid number 2, kid number 3 doesn't. He's too young, but kind of this open rotation. And we had to split the 2 kids up because if you introduced a new movie to kid 1, he would watch it and go, "Oh, I like this movie," and then kid 2, she would watch it and go, "Hey, let's watch it again." So we had to split them up. Otherwise, we'd watch the same movie 2 weeks in a row. And there's only so many times you can watch, the Lego movie, the Lego Ninjago movie, the Lego Batman movie. There's only so many times you can watch these movies. So we kept on scouring the internet for children's movies. And yeah, came across the Beemovie. I remember watching it ages ago. And I'll say, "Oh, hey, this is a kid's movie, whatever. I'll just put it on for the kids." And yeah, within about 20 minutes.
Did you enjoy it the first time around? Did you have any nostalgic sort of feelings towards it at all?
No, not really. I think, no, it must have been, no, I don't, I can't even remember the first time. I don't think we actually went to the cinemas to go see this. Yeah, it's just one of those movies that you're like, I don't remember actually seeing it, but I kind of remember the broad strokes of it. And yeah, so I had the good reaction of personal note, so I keep bees. I'm a beekeeper. I'm not a professional apiarist or whatever it is, but I have bees at my house that I keep. And yeah, if you know, this movie is a double-edged sword, because if you don't know anything about bees, this movie just is at one level. But if you know anything about bees, this movie hits at a completely different level. It is amazing.
Well, I'll say this. I know bugger all about bees, apart from they supply honey and they're integral to our survival, I've been told. But even I went, something this doesn't quite add up right.
Yes. All right. So yes, now that we've kind of gone our relationship with the Beemovie, yeah, we'll take a quick break, and then we will jump back in with the recap. And we are back. So, on a side note, we were just talking about sponsorships and monies and all that kind of stuff. If you would like to give us money to either advertise on the Celery Test or just give us money to just not do the podcast ever again, both options completely open.
Oh, I can't wait to sell out. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I want one of those, like,
actually, no, yeah. Continue.
yeah, I want one of those Mariah Carey deals where, like, she got paid money to release an album, but then didn't release an album, but then got to keep all the money, or something like that. So she essentially got paid money to not release an album. So I call that a Mariah Carey.
Oh, I knew I didn't trust Mariah. There's something about her in my waters, like, no. Trust her.
So if somebody wants to give me $1 million and it was like, cool, you tried podcasting, good for you, here's $1 million, now just never do it again. Happy for that. By all means, happy for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, I'll take
funny page. We can do that. Yes. Harley and JB never do podcasts again.
Yes. It started at $1 million. All right. So a recap. So the movie starts with a flat out stupid quote saying that according to known laws of aviation, a bee shouldn't be able to fly because its wings are too small and its body is too fat. But then bees do it anyway because they don't care what humans think. So I'll get to this after the recap, but just know that this quote is so stupid and misleading that I think it will cause some form of cancer. Anyway, we meet... This is my scripted bit. So we meet Barry B. Benson, our titular character in the Beemovie. He's graduated from bee school and is about to take his one job for life when he has a midlife freak out and decided to leave the hive. Outside, he sees what the pollen bees... outside he sees what the pollen bees get up to, but he gets stuck in some shenanigans and ends up meeting Vanessa and falling in love? Anyway, Vanessa's a woman, by the way, if you've never seen the Beemovie. So he's a bee, she's a woman, and they...
A human woman, by the way. Not a bee woman. Yeah, no. Human woman.
Yes. Anyway...
You like them big.
Yeah, anyway... Barry finds out that the humans are stealing the honey and hitches a ride on a truck to the farm where the hives are taken. And so he takes some pictures with his bee camera, which he just has. Anyway, he then goes to Bee Larry King, and apparently the bees have their own Bee Jesus and Bee Gandhi, which is weird. And he tells everyone that he intends to sue the humans. They have a trial and the humans lose and have to hand all of the honey back and lose the rights to any honey/bee related item. So with the honey returned to the bees, they immediately stop working and producing honey. But as the days and weeks roll on, the whole natural world turns to shit, as without pollinization, there's no new flowers. Realizing that the flowers will never bloom again, Vanessa heads to California from New York to see the Pasadena Flower Show, which is now heavily guarded for some unknown reason. I'm going to go with the flowers. Then they steal a float and fly it back to New York, but after some airplane hijinks, the pilots are incapacitated, and Barry and Vanessa need to fly the plane to safety. But the plane is struck by lightning and the plane is broken. So the bees come to the rescue and land the plane. Then they take the pollen and a musical montage ensues that sees the phlegm spread all the pollen over the flowers and everything magically grows back to life. We then flash forward and Barry is now a lawyer and is talking to a cow about the milk industry, which is horrible if you think about it, because if he's a bee and he can talk, that means he has some kind of sentience and then can talk to like humans. So you can assume that in this universe, cows can also talk to humans, which is horrible.
It opens up a whole lot of can of worms and a lot of uncomfortable questions, probably from your kids, that you don't want to get into.
Yeah. So so is the cow like?
Is Jerry Seinfeld a vegan? Is this a vegan agenda?
I don't
Ooh, he's a
know.
secret vegan.
I don't know. I don't
Vegan
know.
Illuminati.
Yes, the
Ooh.
vegan, the Velugan army.
The vegan Illuminati
Yes, the
is,
vegan.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, they're all after us. What can we say? So, if this is your first time listening, we have to kind of go through now why we think this is a celery movie and give our opinions as to why it is a celery movie in which it takes more from society than it gives. So, the big one that I think is kind of, as I said in the top, is that the people that wrote this movie only know pop culture. So they kind of go, well, bees make honey, right? So pop culture says bees make honey, and we're getting Jerry Seinfeld. So we have to make bees male. We have to make at least the Jerry Seinfeld character a male bee. But then they go out of their way to make almost every other male bee, or sorry, every other bee you see in this movie a male, which, according to nature, is completely wrong. Like, all bees you've mostly seen in your life have been female. The European honeybee, they're all female. In a hive of about 10,000 or so, there's only about maybe, what, 600 males? And the males don't do anything. The males don't produce honey. The males don't have a stinger. The males don't, like, they don't have the special enzyme in their stomachs to be able to break down the sugars and nectars and stuff to actually make honey. They don't fan the honey with their wings to dry it out.
So
They
what do they
don't.
do? What do the male bees do?
A male bee is essentially a flying penis. That's all it is. So a male bee will leave the hive, and their eyes are completely different to the females as well. Like a female bee's eyes, she looks forward, right? So she can see the flowers and she can see the solar let's say radiation. It's not radiation. It's that what's it called?
Infrared, ultraviolet.
Yeah, those special glasses, polarization of the solar, of the solar rays and all that kind of stuff. But a male bee's eyes look up because, or they look forward. Essentially, they look forward and up because a male bee is always looking for a queen. So she flies at a certain height, and the male bees are always looking for a queen. And male bees will leave the hive, and they'll just kind of fly around looking for scent trails and all that kind of stuff. Or they'll go back to the hive and be like, hey, where's another queen at? Or where are the chances of a queen being? And then they'll go that way and they'll try to find a queen. Essentially, the queen will fly by and she will essentially just kind of jump, like land on top of one of the male bees. He will depart his specimens, and then she will basically detach from him, essentially leaving him severed, completely cut in half. So he dies.
Oh God!
Yeah, and she does that to like as many males as possible to try to get a very
Jesus.
Yeah, to try to get like a very big kind of genetic material, as much genetic material as possible. So yeah, so then the queen will go back to the hive, and then she'll start doing what a queen does, and which is basically immediately start laying eggs. So yeah, so a queen bee lays. So if she lays fertilized eggs, which is a male and a female, then those eggs are female. But you can tell, as a beekeeper, you can tell when your queen is getting old and she's run out of genetic material, because she will start laying. So she just lays eggs until she dies. Essentially, that's her job. So
Jesus.
yeah, so you'll know your queen is getting old if she starts just laying nothing but males. So that means that her genetic material, she's run out of male semen, essentially. So she just keeps on laying unfertilized eggs, which turn into males.
Huh.
So
Well, there's your science portion of the movie podcast that we do. So thank you for getting through that one, people.
yeah, no,
Hope we all learned it too. I know I did.
yeah, but that's why I think
Nature's fucked up.
I know nature is amazingly,
Mm.
amazingly like just so intricately beautiful and dangerous at the same time. It's crazy. So that's kind of like that's the main the main like why I think this movie qualifies so heavily as a celery movie because it if this is what you see as like a kid watching a movie, you're going to assume that any bee you see is a male. You're going to go, oh, look at that male bee over there.
On that, did your kids enjoy the Bee Movie a lot more or less than any other kids movie?
Not really. It's kind of like bright colors and shine, things
Yeah, for
happening.
me, I had this discussion and this thought process, and I was just curious on who this was marketed to because with any other successful kids movie that you've seen, the Shreks or anything from Pixar, Disney, and stuff like this, they've got great musical numbers. This one does not have that. They've got easy comedy. Don't really think they have that. They've got Jerry Seinfeld's sort of his B-reel. It's not really any of his A-game stuff, or even throwbacks to anything of Seinfeld. So kind of none of his sort of things land.
Yeah.
And there's no evolution of the character, I think. The main antagonist, he goes out, he finds his job. Like, does he set an example for the rest of the bees that they don't have to be locked into one job? Or like, what's the story at the end of this? Like, I don't know. What do you take away from this? South Park has messages. This does not.
Yeah, that's like kind of, you walk away from it going, so bees are important. So somebody had to have read the script and gone, hold on, so what you're trying to do here is you're trying to say that bees are important and bees are important for pollination and for honey. So that's kind of what you're trying to get away with. But then you take all of the stuff that you could actually, so if that's what you're trying to teach people, like why half-ass it? Why not do what, like, why do it when, why not do it? So somebody had to, they must have brought on a beekeeper and somebody who knows anything about bees. They must have brought on a beekeeper and said, hey, tell us about bees. And this person would have gone, okay, so all bees that collect honey are female. All bees that collect pollen are female. There's no, bees don't have parents. So in this movie,
They don't have Jewish parents either.
Yeah, no, yes. Yes, bees don't have parents. And then so bees have a queen. They have one queen, right? And then they must have known that because when he goes to the hives, all the honey farms or whatever it is, he asks the bees that are trapped in the hives out there that get like smoked. He says, "Oh, why are you here?" And they said, "Oh, they moved our queen here, so we had to come here." You're like, "Well, hold on, but the queen lays all the eggs, so why do you have parents?" So, what?
Well, I'm curious because we don't see the queen in this movie either.
No, you don't.
We don't see a pitch. We don't see either queens actually. We don't see the main antagonist queen or anything. So there's no women's lib movement here or female empowerment that I can gather.
No,
which you could have easily pushed.
Yeah, I mean, like, so if you go back to if you go to A Bug's Life from Pixar, right, that has a queen in it. It has two queens. Well, it has the old queen, has the princess, and it has the baby one or whatever it is. And that at least it's ants, very similar. They have a colony and they have a queen, right? And then you have what's the other one? There's like a weird ant movie with like Sylvester Stallone and
I think it's called Ants.
Is it? It's a. I remember seeing that.
There's Ants, A Bug's Life, and yeah.
Anyway, so
I don't know. Maybe
I remember that one. Yeah, I have to go back and watch Sylvester. All I can remember is Sylvester Stallone as an ant. That's all I can remember.
That's all you need.
I think.
Let's learn anything. Really.
Yeah, and then there's Danny Glover as another ant who just dies. Anyway, yes, enough about.
You're too old for this shit and gets out.
Yes, enough about ants. Let's talk about bees. So, yeah, they must have known something.
Do you think they got an expert? I don't think they did. I think they may have just looked up a couple of YouTube videos, maybe scrolled Wikipedia,
Mm.
And Jerry Seinfeld, who's the producer, director, writer, he's the be all end all of this thing, just went, I'm going to make a B movie. And someone just went, yeah, you should do that. He goes, I'm going to go crack on with this.
Yeah,
I
well,
think it was just one of these things. I don't
I
think
think the
he.
story in researching this movie, which is something that, you know, I did so that others don't have to. So in the story goes in this movie that Jerry Seinfeld was talking to Steven Spielberg about, hey, I want to do a movie about bees. I want to do like this bee movie. And he maybe told him the script or something like that. And then Steven Spielberg was like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. You know, which if, you know, if you're talking to like one of the better directors of like this century, and if, you know, if all you get is like meh, you know, maybe don't make that movie. If you get like, you know, if, hey, you know, even if it's like, man, that's that's the terrible idea, don't ever do that. At least that's kind of okay. I can get that. I can be provocative, and I can
Got a
make,
reaction out of it.
yeah, I can make you know, a provocative movie that people might hate.
Well, yeah. So on that, I did a bit of my own research, and so if you look at IMDb, if you look at Cinema Sins, you look at Rotten Tomatoes, all of these are just 50%.
Mm,
Like the movie's not a bad movie; it's just boring. It's not good. There's
mm,
no. It seems like somebody had more money than sense and just sort of got bored halfway through.
yeah, because I mean, like if it's meant for kids, then why? Yeah, if it's meant for kids, then why is the
There's
character?
no sassy female. There's no.
Yeah.
There's what? There's the best nerdy best friend. There's the Jewish parents.
Mm,
There's the human, love interest, which is
weird.
bizarre. You've got her husband, played by the perfect Patrick Warburton, who was
Is that
absolutely wasted
is it
wasted in
husband?
this
I thought
movie.
it was just. I thought it was like a
Yeah,
work.
boyfriend, whoever it is.
Yeah, tennis
Like
player.
that raises more questions. If your wife, girlfriend, significant other leaves you for a bee that she can talk to, like
Mm,
that raises more questions than it answers. Like this guy
yeah,
gets done over. He gets tucked by a bee. It's
yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, I don't. I, even every single scene that he's in, they were like, "Hey, Patrick, do us a favor. Can you read the line and then just go do like all of the cocaine and just come back and then just yell it?" Because all of his lines are like it, if you have if I have a conversation with you, I'm like, "Hey, Jim Bob, how was your day?" And you were like, "My day was, oh my god, I had to do this," and I'll be like, "Dude, are you like having a stroke, or are you,
or
you know,
tinnitus or
yeah,
something.
it's
Yeah, no,
something, you know,
yeah. There's no velvety baritones of
mm,
Patrick Warburton in this. There's no elevation, which is what makes Patrick Warburton so endearing. Is the fact that he
mm,
comes across as this smooth talking guy, and then when he loses his voice, it sort of hits you. But in
mm.
this, I hope he got paid a lot. I hope this
Yeah, I
opened up a
really do.
door, or this was just part of his contract. They just had to sign because he made a back end deal with Jerry Seinfeld when he did an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah,
I
so
hope. I hope. Patrick
yeah.
Warburton, if you're listening to me, big props, man. Love you.
Mm.
Love you to bits.
So getting back to your question of did they have a bee expert, like like a beekeeper on to say, hey, tell us about bees? And they must have, because in at the start when they're trying to um, pick their one job for the rest of their life, which by the way bees don't do, they have a few jobs. Funnily enough, one of the jobs on there is regurgitator. So if you put, yeah,
Straight up the game, by the way.
that's how honey is made, by the way. Um, so the
Hang
bees.
on, wait. What? This is where the
So
DJ goes,
yeah. So for those that,
pardon?
so
We're
for those,
drinking regurgitated what?
yeah. So for those that don't know, so a female bee, not a male bee. So a female bee will leave the hive, right, and she will go out looking for flowers, right. So she'll go out, she'll find a whole bunch of flowers, right, and then she'll get some nectar. So nectar is a simple form of sugar, right? So then she will drink the nectar. So she'll basically lick it up. So bees have a tongue that's about a third the length of their body. So she'll lick it all up, and then that simple, like it's so minuscule. Um, you know, it takes like I don't know how, I can't remember the statistics on it, but it takes like a whole team of like 1,000 bees their entire life, which is only like 90 days. It takes like 1,000 bees to make like a table or a teaspoon of honey or something like that. So don't waste honey, by the way. Anyway, so
Jesus.
I know they work so hard. So anyway, this female bee, she'll land on the flower. She'll drink the nectar. Okay, and then that nectar will go into her stomach. So she has a special bacteria in her stomach that breaks down the simple sugar and turns it into complex sugar, right? So now the honey, so the nectar is now being turned into honey, right? So she then goes back to the hive and basically finds a little hexagon and goes, yeah, this one looked good. And then she basically wiggles all the way into the hexagon and is like, cool, now to get the honey. And she goes, bleh, and she pretty much regurgitates it into the caps.
So every queen bee is pretty much Kate Moss in the height of her model days, where she just throws up.
No, not the queen bee. Queen bee doesn't eat. So the queen bee doesn't go and get any nectar. She gets fed.
Oh, these are all the worker bees.
Yeah, the worker bees. Yeah, so the female worker.
Army of Kate Moss. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they go out. They regurgitate the honey back into the cells, the hexagon cells. And then
I'm switching to agave nectar. I'm out.
yeah, and then what'll happen is then she'll then go to like the and then she'll fan it with her wings, which basically evaporates the moisture, which then concentrates the sugar. So because honey has such a low moisture content, it can stay
Okay, so
forever.
what does honey do to the bees itself?
It's food.
Like, oh, so they eat it as well. Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. So like, you know how like, you know, the pop science tells us like squirrels are always going off and getting nuts for winter. Same thing. Bees are off going and getting honey for the hive so that they can eat it over winter, or they can just eat it normally, you know. And then they get
Cool.
so,
The more you know.
yes, the more you know. And then they go off and get, and so they also get pollen, right? So pollen, they also eat pollen as well. So pollen is a different type of food for the bees to eat. So they also eat pollen as well, which is the yellowy bit of the flower, which also acts in pollination and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so they must have known, they must have had a beekeeper or a bee expert or something like that. They must have just rung somebody up and say, hey, tell us about bees, and then gone, cool, thanks for that. Let's take, well, you know, it had to have been a good conversation, because on that jobs board there is like a lot of jobs. There's like 60 or 70 jobs, and all of them are related to, some of them are a bit like, I think one of them's like swatting tester or something like that. But anyway, so they're, yeah, so, yeah, so they must have known that bees have all these different jobs. And then, you know, so that's kind of like,
They're all cousins as well.
yeah, they're not
They're all
though.
related.
No, they're not
What?
cousins. They're not cousins. They're technically sisters, funnily enough. So because if there's one queen, right? So if there's one queen laying all of these fertilized eggs, which have male and female.
So do you think in the movie when he mentions the distant cousins and stuff like that, they're like, yeah, because we can't say sister because that's just not going to play well in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're all not cousins. They're all sisters, and you know, the only people that aren't related per se are the drones, because they are the sons, but even their relationship is different to the
Yeah, this is getting murky and creepy. Well, here's one point that I wanted to point out. Did you notice the parallels of the Beemovie to the Matrix?
No, I did not.
Right. Well, I thought about this and I went, okay, so you've got one guy. Mind you, he's the only guy with blue eyes in the movie, whereas everyone else has got brown.
I thought his dad had blue eyes as well.
I think maybe his dad does as well. So there's only two guys or two people, characters in the entire movie that have blue eyes. Everyone else got brown.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets told not to leave the hive, not to leave up. He leaves the hive, discovers a brand new world, and then discovers that, you know, the honey's getting stolen. And then he comes back and brings everything down. So I just thought, like, you know, there's a Neo sort of thing going on there.
Blue pills, or is it red pill? I'm not quite sure which one was the Matrix.
Hey, do both. Free drugs.
Yes. No, I didn't. I didn't quite get the Matrix parallel, But
Look, it was just one of those things that I thought about. Look, if anyone's listening thinks that I'm totally off my rocker, cool, or if someone else can articulate better than me, please comment. Send us some,
well,
emails or messages.
Yeah, well, it's like the hero with 1,000 faces, or like the story of like the hero's journey. You get your call to action, and then you deny the call to action, and then something bad happens, and then you have to go in action. Even that doesn't really work for this movie because there's no like call to action.
Antagonist.
Yeah, no, there's no
bad guy.
Yeah, there's no call to action. Yes. All right, we'll take another quick break, and then we'll just keep talking about the Beemovie and why
It's a B- movie. That's what I should have called it.
All right, let's take a quick break. And we are back. So now that we've kind of talked about kind of why I think it's a celery movie, because it takes so much from the audience without giving anything, right? So that's the whole point. It's like it doesn't give anything back. The only thing it gives back is wrong information about bees. If it was if it was a female bee and they actually got it right. I mean, there's so many things you could have shown that is super interesting. Like, so we're in 2020 as we're recording this right now. So recently there was a person who won the Nobel Prize in biology for studying what's called the bee waggle dance, which is how bees talk to each other and tell each other where the flowers are. So
for interpreting dance.
Yeah. So they go back. It's super good. Look it up on YouTube. It's super cool. So basically, a female bee will go out. She'll find a whole bunch of flowers that has a lot of nectar and all that stuff, and she'll come back to the hive. And what she'll do is she'll orientate herself facing. So whichever way the I'm not even going to try to explain it. Actually, look it up on YouTube. There's a doctor and scientist person who won a Nobel Prize. They can explain what the waggle dance is. But essentially, a bee goes back to the hive and she's like, yo, everybody, if she waggles for like 2 seconds, that means the flowers are like 2 kilometers away, or 2 bee kilometers away, right? If she then waggles in the direction, she's like, hey, look at the sun, and then take the direction that I'm dancing in, and that's kind of where the flowers are. So bees can see solar. They can see the polarization of the sun even when it's cloudy. So they'll go out of the hive. So this, through their eyes, they'll look at. They can always see where the sun is. So when the bee goes back to the hive, she's like, "Hey, so the sun is there, right? And I'm dancing slightly to the left. So I'm waggling for 2 seconds slightly to the left. So when you leave the hive, find the sun." Go slightly left for.
So she's doing a grid reference sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 meters that way. Yeah, okay, right. Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So a person. Yeah, so that's really important, because like a person won a Nobel Prize for biology for nothing.
Well, in saying that, on your point, who was this marketed to? What could have been done with this movie? With the amount of females that are supposed to be in this bee movie that weren't, so underrepresentation, you could do the story of not even being in the hive, being in the crates, and do a jailbreak situation or a freedom thing. And that would, rising up through that. I think it's a missed opportunity. I think it's a total misfire.
Yeah, that's why it hits so hard as a celery movie for me, because it's, it takes so much from the audience and doesn't give anything back, and it gives back wrong information. So, and then like but it also, like, even stuff that could have been like fixed subtly, right? So like when they're in the courtroom, right? So they're explaining. I mean, I get that they have to do like movie courtroom and all that kind of stuff, but like, it's like, hey, we make honey, so therefore you can't have it. And anybody that uses a term like sting, like, it's
yeah, that's another thing. So for those who haven't watched it, this thing star-studded. Jerry Seinfeld must have called in everyone he had a favor with, or maybe they just got on the hype train and just flat out lied to him. They've got Matthew Broderick, they've got Ray Liotta, who's in it, and Sting, who makes a cameo, who's floating because he knows yoga like he's Dallas Sim from Street Fighter.
Yeah, and John Goodman.
A waste of John Goodman.
Yeah, so much of a waste.
He's the nearest thing to a bad guy in this movie, and he's just a lawyer.
Yeah, he's basically just a lawyer who says, hey, if you take the honey, you know, and he says it at the end when they win. He's like, you have no idea the you've upset the natural order or something like that. Something like that. So
was it Renee Zellweger? Can we talk about her character for a minute?
Yes.
So this chick is a traitor to the human race, and leaves her life with Patrick Warburton to go be with a B Jerry Seinfeld so that she can win a court case. She's not a lawyer. She's a florist. How does she do this?
Yeah.
How did she not get committed?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they pull the race card in the middle of the courtroom.
Yeah, they really did. They really did.
That was funny.
Yeah.
I was just like, it was a little funny. It was a little funny when the black guy shoved himself to the left. But, I don't know who this was marketed to. For me, there is time that you can spend, you with your kids, you can put them in front and get your piece, or you can enjoy it, share a memory. For me, watching this, it took way more than it gave. Like, I'm one who will put his hand on his heart and say that I actually quite enjoy several bad movies. I take them for what they are, enjoy the hell out of them.
Bad movie.
For every bad movie, there's at least one line that gets a good laugh out of me. There's one actor who shines out of the most. This was just, was it a tax write-off? I don't know how to salvage this. Like, I wouldn't know how to recommend this to friends, because it's not even a good Jerry Seinfeld movie.
No, it's not. I mean,
nobody's made any other movies.
But that's the thing. If you watched,
that's it.
Yeah, like riding with comedians in cars. I think that's what it's called. That's really good. He takes, that's a human conversation between people, and they go and get coffee, and he makes sure that they tip, and he always pays and all that kind of stuff. That's really endearing to, the person who Jerry Seinfeld is. This. Yeah, I just can't put my finger on it. But I mean, so that's the thing with the celery test. There are good movies. There are bad movies. So a good movie can be a celery test. A good movie can be a celery movie. A bad movie can be a celery movie. Not all good movies are celery movies. Not all bad movies are celery movies. Sometimes you have to watch a bad movie and go, you know what? That didn't actually take more than it gave. That actually gave me something.
The good bad movies. It's a bad movie, but it's a good bad movie. It's a popcorn movie. It's a leave your brain at home. Actually, I don't even know how we've gotten this far without saying it. The puns. They were killing me.
Yes, so many puns. I mean, if this target, if the target audience for this movie is like what, 6-year-old to like 14-year-old, if it's kind of like a rated animated movie, that's kind of like your audience. So like trying to explain like a pun to my 8-year-old, I'm like, no, that's somebody trying to be funny with words, but it's not really landing. So I mean, like the funniest bit in this movie from a kid's point of view is the courtroom when he gets stung. Like the lawyer, John Goodman's lawyer, when he gets stung, the fact that he just flops around and does a whole bunch of like pratfalls and all that kind of stuff, that's funny. All the rest of the movie, just kind of watching it going, what? I mean, bright colors and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I hope your favorite color is yellow, and then you'll enjoy this movie. Apart from that, eesh.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we have adequately kind of raised our reasons for why we believe this is a celery movie, and it has taken more than it has given, right? So many ways that you could have fixed it, right? You could have educated people on, how bees are important, how they collect honey, how they, collect pollen, how they pollinate flowers and all that kind of stuff. You could have done that, using
Could
a
have done
queen.
community, could have done
Yeah.
female-led, thing, empowerment,
Hmm.
or without throwing those, sort of like clickbait terms around, but saying that like, yeah, this is a bit different and this is how it works, and
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like a bee, when it is, so bees live for, I know this is turning into like bee facts with Harley, but a bee, a bee generally lives for 90 days, essentially from the time she is egg, or she is essentially from a baby egg to essentially dying. So bees don't die of old age; they die of exhaustion. So a bee, so she'll spend 30 days inside her honeycomb cell, right? Not a cell as in a prison cell. It's just called a cell. So she'll spend 30 days in that, and she'll eat honey. She'll get fed honey, and then she'll spend 30 days in the hive, essentially learning how to be a bee. So she would be what's called a nurse bee. So she'll get out and she'll take honey from like one part of the hive, and then go find some of the other larvae and some of the little babies and give them honey, or she'll like go and give the queen a special kind of it's called royal jelly. So she'll give the queen a special kind of honey because the queen doesn't go and find her own honey. She gets fed honey. She's busy. Um, and then the so when she's in the hive for her 30 days, or for 30 to 60 days, she's basically learning how to be a bee. And then they do what's called a guard bee. So they'll sit outside the hive kind of with their bums up in the air, kind of ready to go. Like they'll let everybody know kind of what's happening.
goes down, thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah. So and then they'll so then they'll just kind of manage the hive, and then they'll spend the rest of the 30 days out being foraging. Essentially, this is I'm sure if you're a bee expert, you will comment and relate. I'm not going to read the comments. Whatever, I don't care. And then she'll spend the last
I
30.
will.
Yeah, Jimbo will. I'm not going to. Yeah, they'll spend her last 60 to 90 days out getting nectar, out getting pollen, and bringing all that stuff back. So she's then goes out and becomes a forager bee. So you could have had, if you're going to have an animated movie about bees, you could have had, nurse bees. You could have had guard bees. How cool would it have been to be like, think of like Black Panther, like the Dora Milaje, or whatever it is like if this elite group of like warrior women who guard the king. Bees have been doing that. Yeah, you could have just taken us a little bit more just to kind of educate people on, hey, I get that bees are important, but everything is already kind of, if you like, everything in this world is slowly changing. But one of the things about having a daughter is that I have to realize that everything in this world is kind of tailor made for males. So everything is like guys. Even when you walk into a room of like, a bunch of women as well, you're like, hey guys, you're like, well, no, that's a male term. Hold on, that's not fair. And if you're
High teen is something that I usually use now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Although, if Hollywood's listening, this movie is ripe for a reboot. You
oh
reboot
yeah,
everything else, you could definitely reboot this.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody understands the importance of bees, and with all the stuff that they could, yeah, you could educate people and just anyway. Well, yes,
And
we'll
have
finish.
cute bee merchandise. You could sell. You could make money. It's a
Yeah,
license to print money.
yeah, it is. It is instead of Ray Liotta honey.
Yeah, I don't think you can get that. Like, do they have others? I would have liked to see the writers' room for that or not. Who
Yeah,
they pitched to do, like, did they not get Sting, but they wanted him in the movie anyway, so they gave him a non-speaking part? Like,
yeah.
yeah, who would you vote? Who, if you had the power, who would you want to represent your honey?
That's an excellent question. Um, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, if you just wanted all the money, it'd be Beyonce because she's Queen Bee.
See,
You just make it's just make money. If Beyonce,
see, I was,
if Beyonce released her
that's
own brand of her brand of honey, everyone would be like, "Cool, Queen Bee is releasing honey." That just makes sense. So, copyright
Beyonce, if you're
Harley,
listening,
copyright Harley and Jim
we
Bob.
want 1%. We want 1%.
Yes, give us $1 million to shut up, and we'll never talk about it again.
Yes, so Beyonce needs to come out with her own honey. You heard it here first.
Yes, absolutely. Somebody get her on the phone. Um, so, yeah, so many things about this movie. Just missed opportunity, and just takes. It's like it just inputs things with pop science and says, "Hey, by the way, your pop culture reference for a bee now is a Jewish man who complains about everything and doesn't like being a bee." You're like,
Who has a car?
yeah,
Who has a car, by the way? They talk about them flying. He flies first the movie, has a car for shits and giggles.
yeah, yeah. All right, so let us ask the question: is the Bee Movie a celery movie? What do you think, Jim Bob?
Absolutely. Like there are not many movies that get me, and I just went, this one's just a dumpster fire. If anyone's listening, if we're shitting on, dunking on your favorite movie, the Bee Movie, please contact us. Write in the comments. Harley won't read it, but I will. I'd be very, very open to hear a positive spin on this movie, and have my eyes open. But honestly, this is going to be. It's going to be in my like top 5 like waste of time movies I've ever watched.
Yeah, same for me as well. I highly rate this movie as a celery movie. It takes more than it gives. So I think just to clarify, one of the things we should really talk about is that even if we think that a movie passes the celery test, right? So if it's on the list of movies that are celery movies, right? Should you, the listener, go and watch it? Yes, of course you should. If you're taking advice from 2 Australian wankers on the internet, then you've probably got something else going for you. Yes, you should go and watch these movies. And we're not going to say, because people, it's a whether you like it or hate it, it's a piece of art. So somebody put the time in to actually make it. Whether you walk away from it just going, man, that really sucked or whatever. At least you get some form of experience. I will never not tell anybody to not watch a movie just because I hate it.
Absolutely. Watch this movie, agree that we don't like it, or come up with your own opinions and share it with us. I would be lovely to hear. But on that, there's one thing that I'll be doing every episode, and that's usually one of those funny sort of things that I do. I don't know if you guys do this at home. I don't know if Harley does it. But whenever I watch a movie at home or in the cinemas, I'll usually look at the credits and just find out weird names. So for me, the one that wins this one is the character effects animator, Dante Tanatoko. The runner-up was a surfer named Gentaro Yamamoto. Also, fun point with this, Jerry Seinfeld put in other credits: a wife support system, Jessica; kids humor consultant, Sasha Julian Shepard; and pizza consultant, Chris Bianco. So I think that was probably the highlight for me. It was actually the credits this one, because he made up BS ones for his friends and family.
That's like in what was it, I think in Airplane, or like Flying, we call it Flying High in Australia, other places call it Airplane. In Flying High 1 and 2, and then the Loaded Weapon ones, the Leslie Nielsen, the Loaded Weapon.
Yeah.
Those have like recipes for brownies in them, and it's like,
no,
yeah,
really?
if you go back and watch, I think it's the Loaded Gun ones more than actually Flying High. But yeah, if you go through the credits, and then it'll be like, hey, by the way, here's a recipe for brownies, and then it'll kind of keep going up, and then it's like, have like another. I
was just talking about this the other week. Who's the poor girl that passed away? What was her name? The blonde girl.
No,
she was in those movies. She was jaw dropping, and then married an old guy and gained a bunch of weight. Then had lipo, got some drugs. Talks about Kanye making her a beautiful actress or something, and then she passed away.
No, I have zero form of social media, so you're like talking to the wrong person here, man. My Reddit, my Reddit profile consists of like woodworking plans and like pratfalls. That's kind of about it. Those are my followers on Reddit. I have zero. So yeah, if you want to find me on social media, you can't find me on Facebook. You can't find me on Twitter or Instagram, because I don't have any of those. So if you want to generate all of your hate to Jim Bob, find Jim Bob on the internet, send him all of that.
Please do.
Yes, because if you have,
right. So the Naked Gun, not the Loaded Gun.
Naked
Gun. Yeah. What was her name? Was she? No.
Jenna Marie Priestley.
No, not that one.
Jenna Marie Priestley.
Where is she? No. Hang on, that's naked Mary, normal naked gun.
This is quality audio profile, by the way. Just listening to
You
Jim
know,
Bob.
Widow Yankovic was in those movies.
Was he?
Yeah,
That's cool.
weirdly enough. Oh, she was a Playboy playmate. What was her name?
No.
Oh,
Anna
if you at
Nicole,
home remember who I'm talking about, please get in touch.
Anna Nicole Smith?
That's it, Anna Nicole Smith.
Mm. Was she a Naked Gun?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Go back and watch it. There is one memorable moment where she has some
Tassels.
she has some talents. Has some
Okay.
talents.
Yeah. See, I
Yeah.
can't. I can't. I mean, not that I'm probably going to go back and watch it, but you know, most of the movies I'm watching now are kind of like I'm looking at them going, "Is this a celery movie?" No, and like,
I just remember when I was before I was a teenager watching that movie, going, I don't know what she's doing, but I like what she's doing.
yeah, it probably has actually probably one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in a movie is in one of those movies. It's when he's down. It's if you look it up on YouTube, you probably might see it. But it's when he's down at the docks and he's asking this guy for information, and he goes, "Hey, give me some." You're like, "Oh, I might do it, and I might refresh your memory." And then he gives him like a $20 note, and then I'm not going to explain it, a physical joke to you over an audio medium. Go and find, go watch it. It's hilariously funny. But yes, what are we talking about? Credits. Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, I as a
Yeah.
as a parent with 3 children, I don't get to. I mean, I don't get to watch the credits because usually on some movies, that's the credits when they put like the uppy pop song that's released with the movie, and then my kids immediately get up and dance, and then I have to spend the rest of the credits either dancing with children, making sure the children, stop jumping on the couch, or like,
Because I would thought that would be the time when the kids go to sleep and you can just carry them, throw them in bed. Good
no, man,
night.
you want them to burn off as much energy as possible. They're like, oh, the movie's over. You've been sitting down for an hour and a half. Oh, let's say you want to burn off some energy. Cool. Dance away. And then, yeah, it's like, cool, dance to bed and now sleep. Go to sleep now. Yes. I've been slowly studying hypnotism so I can be like, and sleep. And they'll just like, out. You know, it doesn't work. You can't hypnotize children. So, yes, all right. So that was Celerytest. If you have any recommendations or movies that you want us to look at, in the future, you can send an email to celerytestpod@gmail.com. We will eventually have, actually, no, scratch that. We're not going to have any. We might have maybe of Jim Bob can, if you want to, let me rephrase that. If you want to start up a subreddit or a Facebook group or something like that to talk about celery movies, by all means, go off and do that. If you want us to join in on that, absolutely not. I'm not doing that at all. I'm not going to read the comments. I'm not going to do anything. My whole purpose in this is just to relay information that is going on in my head. It's kind of cathartic and therapeutic for me just to get all this stuff out of my head, talk to Jim Bob, and then release it to you. If you want to discuss these options, no, I don't care.
Put them down in the comments. I'll have a read. Maybe I'll even comment when we have these up and running.
Yeah.
Yeah, all comments, all criticisms welcomed. Yeah, that's what this is about. It's about discussion, and why you do or you do
to
not.
discuss. Yeah, not for me to discuss. I'm not discussing anything. I'm not saying I'm 100% right, but I'm just too busy. I'm making a house and managing 3 children. So yeah, I'm like, no, I'm too busy to be reading comments and all that kind of stuff. So yes. All right. So, Jim Bob, would you like to tell people where they can find you on social media?
Absolutely not. But in future, we will have, the podcasts and the comments and maybe even a YouTube. So if you guys want to support this and continue this or grow it, please let us know. And yeah, we'll do so and try our best to, make this a better podcast as every episode goes past.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think might release this as episode 1 actually, because this movie kind of really hits it kind of what a celery movie is, So yes. All right, cool. Thank you for listening. Again, if you want to send us money to either keep podcasting or not podcasting, please direct all that to our Gmail account. Yes, we'll sell out anything. If you want us to, yes, I'm saying Granny's genocide pills, you will sell anything, Yes, absolutely. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Jim Bob.
Thanks, Harley.
All right. See you later, brother.
Take it easy.
Bye.